Hi, I'm Matt.
And I'm Dave.
And welcome to the recording of the Happy Hour on the 1st of July.
Now, in this meetup, we focus on something slightly different for a change. And rather than the usual Magento or M2E Pro topics, we take a look at a broader spectrum of marketing for your e-commerce business.
And it's come up numerous times in the forums where myself, Matt, or Dave share with you an insight into marketing for your business. And we look at the hub and the spokes of your marketing strategy, and also the confusing area of social media marketing too.
And we take a no-nonsense approach and look at the strategies that we know that work and that we've heard and seen the success stories. And one of the key ones, Matt, that we mentioned is that of Gary Vaynerchuk with his give, and then ask when it comes to social.
That's right. And this week, Dave was in control because Dave didn't know that if I was going to be available or not, or get back in time. But he does within a minute to spare, or I managed to get back within a minute or two to spare. And then we have this fantastic insight into marketing. So with that said, enjoy the recording. And if you want to join in live with us next week, then head over to understandinge.com/happy hour and reserve your place.
It's 100% free to join. And the meetup starts at 8:30 p.m. GMT time, and that's about 12:30 in the afternoon if you're on the western side of the USA, which will make it about 3:30 in the afternoon if you're on the eastern coast of the USA, and that is about 5:30 a.m. if you're in somewhere like Canberra, Australia.
So with that said, dive in and enjoy. Any comments or suggestions, please let us know underneath this video on YouTube or in the comments section on the Understanding E site, and dive in. So for myself, Matt.
And from me, Dave.
See you there. Bye-byes.
Connecting. Let's have a quick look down. We have Matt for a change. You're on this side of the of the attendee list. Dale, Gapritz, Howard, Maria, Renee, Richard, Steve, as always. It's good to see you all. There's a few more still connecting. And while they're coming through, we may as well start with the introductions and the old housekeeping. And so, firstly, thank you for everyone joining us on this rather muggy, hot evening. What's it like where you are, Matt? Still really hot up here in Manchester for a change.
I'm absolutely roasting, but I've just walked 2 miles to get home. So
yeah, it's killed me having to close the windows to make sure the sound's good enough. And so, anyway, onto the agenda for this evening. We have, as usual, the introductions and the housekeeping and the house rule. And tonight's topic is one that I came up with purely because I was worried that if Matt wasn't going to be here, then me diving into Magento and you asking lots of questions which I can't answer wouldn't be worth any of our time. So instead, we're going to look at marketing your e-commerce business 101 for a bit of a change, a bit of a step away from Magento and M2E Pro. And any other business, Matt? The only thing I could think of was an update on section 3 of the design course. I'm not sure if you've got any other business.
No, that's it for now. And I've actually I've just opened up the training guide planner to see what we got left on the product page, which is 4 tutorials.
Four tutorials, yeah, not many. Let's give us something to do tomorrow, won't it?
Just a little bit. Put out today.
Exactly, yeah. So anyway, let's crack on. For anyone who's new and doesn't know already, we have one house rule, and that is that there is no such thing as a daft question if you don't know the answer. So on the left-hand side of your any meeting box, you should see the chat box. Feel free to throw in any question, Matt's there waving, that you get as we go along, and we'll jump in and answer as we go. That's the way we like it. Keep it informal. So, with that said, Matt, let's start.
Indeed.
So, marketing 101. And like I said, this came about purely because I didn't think Matt was going to be around this evening, and it was something that I could talk about relatively easily. So this is what it's going to be about. We're going to, divert the topic from Magento slightly and look at marketing for your business. Now, the easiest way to think of marketing for your business is that of a bicycle wheel. So you have the hub in the middle, and that will be like the main focus of your content. And for most businesses, and again, this is how I started in sort of e-commerce, and Matt certainly started with Last Drop of Ink, is a blog. And that tends to be the main part or the main source of your content.
Mm-hmm. Dave, can I'm going to play the role of Dave this evening.
Go on
Dave,
then.
Can you explain what content means and why is it important to us and our business?
Of course. So,
in plurals.
Content is great for a couple of reasons. The first is that I'm trying not to mention the phrase that you did before, Matt, but basically everyone has an opinion on.
Oh, right, that was James Blunt said that. Yeah.
Yeah. So everyone has an opinion, and the thing is, yours to share. Go on, Matt. You share the phrase.
Well, I'll rephrase it to what James Blunt said on Top Gear, which was that opinions are like people's bottoms. Everybody's got one, but not everybody wants to share it.
Yeah, so exactly. So content is basically whatever you have to share about your business, and it could be anything. It could be how, not just the sales side, but it could be processes, could be news within your arena. I know, for example, this Sunday, I believe Parcel Force and Royal Mail did their first Sunday deliveries. That's huge for e-commerce news, and that could be worth you blogging about. If you were one of those businesses that had a Sunday collection or were doing deliveries on Sunday, that would have been a nice thing for you to be able to share about. And it's not just, it serves two-purpose content. It not only does it look good to customers or potential customers to show you that, yes, you have your finger on the pulse, but also that you're being kept up to date. You are current. And that works just the same for Google as well, because if you're updating blog pages, Google knows how often you're updating your website, and Google does rank you according to how up to date your site is. So if you're publishing content every week, new fresh content, Google love it, and it will help you in the search rankings. So content has two sort of main benefits, and it literally is anything that you have to share. Does that answer your question, Matt?
It does indeed. Thank you, sir.
Sweet. So, before, as I was planning this sort of slide deck for this evening, it brought me onto one of the first books I ever read. I think it might have been your suggestion, Matt. It was called Your Marketing Sucks, and it's by a guy called Mark Stevens. And it's for me, it's one of the most annoying things that you can do in marketing, and that is be lazy with it. And this all boils down to trackability. If you're spending your money on marketing for your website or for your business as a whole, can you track it? And if you can, then I would suggest stopping it immediately, because yes, great. Matt's just stuck the link in the chat box if anyone is interested. But basically, stop whatever marketing you're doing that you cannot track, because that is the key. How do you know what your ROI is? How do you know how many hits that marketing is getting? How do you know how many sales are converting? I remember working for a company which I first started out with, and they would pay hundreds of pounds every month to be in a local newspaper. They'd have like a footer at the bottom of the front page or half a page spread on one of the pages. And I said, this wasn't cheap marketing by any means, but could we ever truly tell if, where these customers were coming from, what impact it was having? No, we couldn't. And the main reason for that is when the guys doing the marketing were coming up with the copy, they weren't including any specific landing pages for people to go to. They weren't encouraging any specific discount codes just for that advert. And it basically meant we were paying hundreds of pounds every month, but had no idea what impact that was having on our business. And that, Matt, is madness, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's not. If you're going to chuck money into something, you need to see where it's going to go. And it's like just stabbing in the dark. Is that pretty much the easiest way of looking at it? You've got to know what you're getting back in return.
That's it. It's all about the ROI. You know, if you don't have any idea about what effect you're spending your marketing budget on, then stop it immediately, because you really need to know if it's working or not. And if it's not working, then spend it elsewhere. Spend it on something that does work, because there's a marketing that works for every kind of business. Mm-hmm. So, as we said at the beginning, we have the hub. And for most businesses, this is a blog. And like I said, this is where myself started with davefurnace.com or .co.uk, and how Matt started after, you know, he started it on his own with Last Drop of Ink. And like I said, this doesn't have to be the center of all your campaigns, but it is usually the place where most people will start, because it's like your own corner of the web where you can pretty much do whatever you want. You can make it look how you want, you can write however you want, and it's, you know, it tends to be the starting step. Now, WordPress is, if you haven't come across WordPress before, it is a fantastic CMS, or a content management system, and it's widely used by bloggers and blogging websites. And you still use WordPress on Last Drop of Ink, Matt, is that right?
Yeah, Understand the Needs powered by WordPress as well.
It is as well.
In short, there's a couple of choices when it comes to content management systems, and very, very simply, a content management system is somewhere where you can write or post images or video into an admin section and make it appear on the website. So if we look at the Understanding E blog, for example, that's a typical WordPress site. With our Understanding E website, we've gone one stage further. We've bent it to be able to control user access into specific pages, and we've got the forums built in as well, but it's all built upon WordPress. Now, there's lots of different options out there for content management systems. WordPress is just one of them, but WordPress is by far one of the most widely used ones. And to be honest, Dave, WordPress just works. 99.9% of the time, it just works. And you've got a little fish pig icon up there.
Yes.
What that does and why that's important for Magento?
Yeah, I'm bringing this up now because for you guys that have your Magento, hopefully you got your Magento websites or are in the process of building your Magento website, then Magento is great. And don't forget, Magento is a CMS on its own. You know, you've got your static blocks and your pages, but it's a different kind of CMS. Magento was built as an e-commerce solution.
Yeah, so Dave, you bang on. Magento is brilliant. It's got an imagery and this order management system, and we've got extensions like M3 Pro, but it's not a content management system. But in short, Magento is not WordPress. That's the problem.
Yeah, you just don't get the same level of freedom that you would want to build a blog with, for example. So moving on to Fishpig. And Fishpig, it's a company name, just like Magento, so it's their own company name, and they offer a free extension which can integrate WordPress into your Magento website or your Magento system, and that will allow you to create a WordPress blog on your Magento website. It's a fantastic tool, and it's free. Now, Matt, you've got an interesting story with the Fishpig integration, haven't you? Did something go wrong somewhere?
Yeah, it did. So, number one, I've just been and popped the link in the chat box on the left-hand side. So if any of you want to look at the integration between WordPress and Magento, it is actually really straightforward to do. But there's one thing which you can screw up, okay? And I did it, and it drove me around in circles. So let's say that you want your own content management system using WordPress on your Magento website. And as Dave's suggesting, is that this is going to become the hub of your marketing activities on your website. Now, normally you would like that to be your domain name .com/blog. Now, the one thing which you cannot do with this integration is install WordPress into a folder called blog. You've got to call it anything other than blog. Okay, so what we're going to suggest when we get the video tutorial up is that install it into a folder called either WP for WordPress or a separate folder called WordPress. And then when you integrate it into Magento, which is really straightforward to do, is that you then change the URL. So if you want it to be yourdomainname.com/blog, you can then do it then. But if you call the installation folder called blog, then you'll just go around in circles and it basically says no. So it's like the one thing, again, being a bloke, I went, I'll just go and do it and see what falls out. And then I found it the hard way. So I went and read the manual, and the manual says, don't do that at the top.
Oh, great. The old
everything
manual.
else worked brilliantly. Yeah, everything worked brilliantly.
So we, as Matt mentioned briefly, we do have the plan to do the fish pig guide. But like I said, the document is there. And like I said, I know a few of the members already. It's come up in the forums a couple of times, and they've installed fish pig and got the blogs up and running. So yeah, fantastic. If you do use fishpig, let us know what you think. But we think it's brilliant. And for those who want a blog, and like I said, we recommend it's a good place to start on, for marketing. It's like your base, your hub of content. Then yeah, fishpig is a great tool to use to add in WordPress to your Magento website. Now, Matt, this came up again when we were sort of planning this, and it's the unpopular route, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. So let's be fair here, right? We're not in the business of cheap wins. The thing is that with cheap wins, hacks and things like that, they don't last. And we can...
short solutions, aren't they?
Yeah, we can't suggest anything to you which we wouldn't do ourselves. And the best analogy is that what we're suggesting is a marathon, okay? Is that getting the blog installed on your Magento website and then populating it with content. You might have this little flurry at the beginning to get a couple of things out, or you might stall at it. The thing is not to worry about it. Don't worry about publishing too much content. Don't worry about publishing too little content, because the irony is that one post per month is actually okay if it's really, really good. And it's everything. How do I explain this? We're looking to help you long term, and that means that what we're after is a marathon, not a sprint. So it's not a 100-meter sprint where you go and do a load of effort and then it's all over. That's not the way that the web works. In short, Google just wants, you want quality, unique content. Okay, you want to watch a video tutorial which helps you do a certain thing with Magento. You want a YouTube video which helps you to do something else. You want an article. In fact, Dave, looking at the web stats today, I struggled with a problem with IPN and PayPal, the instant payment notification, and I put that in the forums, and that's been visited about 40 times today alone. And it was quality, unique content, and it gave the answer for what I was looking for. And I found that through pain and sweat for Ashman for his site. And I found that hard, but I did all the research and then I bundled it up with the answer and explained how I found the answer as well. And each of us are going to be mini storytellers, and it doesn't have to be about a product. So if you sell wristbands, so let's have a look at that woman right now. In the middle, she's got an armband on there, which is probably tracking her heart rate. Okay, it's not just about the product; it's also about Michelle and her journey to taking part of that marathon. And the thing is that you'll all be interested in selling products because that's where you're making your money to. But the thing which people actually really like is the story which goes with that product. How is that product going to help them? How is that product helped Michelle with her marathon, for example? And yeah, that was what came up in conversation, which is that what we're suggesting to you is a marathon, not a sprint. And it's always exciting to get something new put in, but it's always about the end game. And the end game in this case, and it's the same for us as well, is quality, unique content, and it's about it being a marathon. It's never about being a sprint. Again, we do how we work now. We do stripes or mini sprints within Understanding just to get stuff done. Like Dave, how many video tutorials did we record today?
We did 10 this afternoon. Yeah.
There you go. So we do mini sprints in what we do, but it's for a bigger picture on what we're up to, and it's a marathon, of what if that's the game which we're playing. And the reason that we're playing that game and we're sat in, we're dug in, we're trenched in, and who doesn't look,
he's having a hard time of it. He would be another good story.
Yeah, exactly. And it gets
named
so two people
isn't having a good time.
Yeah, two people, same race, different experiences. Very, very curious.
And that is, the crux of what we're talking about here is two people in the same race, but two very different stories. Just because your competitors have wrote a blog doesn't mean that you can't write a blog on the same subject. You just bring a totally new side to it that they have.
Yeah, and this is where sorry, Dave, I'm going to jump in there. If your competitor's been and written a blog, they've just done a whole chunk of hard work for you because they've given you suggestions on what you should write.
Exactly. But like I said, this key word or key term which me and Matt keep bringing up is quality, unique content. And to break that down, that is exactly, Steve, that is not cut and paste. That is, unique. It's what you have written. And this is why it's the hard way. It's because, it could be so easy to cut and paste someone's article or to cut it and do a few word switches and thesaurize a few words and change them. It would save you loads of time. Would it bring as much value? Absolutely not. And that is the difference here, is that when you write something, it is people learn to read your style. I'm sure people notice on the Understanding eBlog, they can tell which ones I write and which one Matt writes because we write in very different ways. But it's real. It's just both of us sharing our own experiences. And that's what you can bring to the table, is your experience. And that's, like I said, it's not an easy win by any means. It does take some time from your part to create the content, but it will make the difference.
Mm-hmm. And it becomes easier as well.
Absolutely.
If you think about the training for each of these athletes, which you've got in front of us right now, is that they just didn't turn up and stub their fag out and go, let's go for a little jaunt. There's some other people going out on this race. They've been planning this and doing this for months. They've probably run marathons before. They've been there. They've got the experience to do this. And the thing is that every single one of those people started from nowhere on there. That's the thing to remember. It doesn't matter even if you look at the big companies like Google and Facebook and even eBay and Amazon. May sound like really strange because they're like household names now. They all started from nowhere. They started from garage. They started from pins or whatever it was for eBay.
Yeah.
They started from Jeff Bezos's garage and then went into his basement. He was using doors as tables and things like that. Is that everything has to start from somewhere, and don't worry about making mistakes. In fact, was it last year? Last year, my personal New Year's resolution was something which I could keep to, which was to fail. And the reason why failure is actually really, really good for us is because if you fail at something, it means you've tried. Because 99% of other people, the other people which are not here right now, they're sat there watching TV. They're not on here trying to improve their business. And which ones do you think might win? I've got a fair idea. The guys which are online at 9 o'clock in the evening in the UK, or if you're in the US, in the morning, stroke afternoon. Every single one of them started from nothing. And you always remember that as well. Don't look at them and think, wow, I could never run a marathon. The reality is you could. You just got to put the time, effort in there to do it. And the same, coming back to the actual topic, blogging, writing content, it actually does become very, very, very much easier. So, for example, the blog post which I popped out this morning about listing the same product time multiple times on eBay and Amazon using M2E Pro, basically I wrote that in 20 minutes flat, and I spent more time editing the images and getting rid of my spelling mistakes than I did writing the article, because you'll find it just becomes very natural to you. You go, right, I need to write an article on this. I'll do a couple of bullet points, and then you just backfill. And don't worry about spelling mistakes. You don't worry about typos or mannerisms. Just type how you would talk, and very, very quickly you can just go back through, do a preview, check your spelling mistakes, sort out any grammar errors, add a couple of images, publish, job done.
I guess that brings us on to our sort of next sort of speaking point here, Matt, and that is, you touched on it slightly there, and that's about a schedule. Now, like you said, for all the marathon runners, they didn't just get up one morning and say, I'm going to run a marathon today. They, they would have had a running schedule where they say, right, I need to run a mile today, I need to run 3 miles on Wednesday, I need to run 5 miles on Friday, and they will build it up. And when you have like a blog or something along those lines with your website, it is generally a good idea to try and keep to a schedule. Now, the sort of psychology behind that is almost quite obvious. The audience begin to expect posts from you on a routine basis. So some of you may have noticed that on the Understanding E site, we have posts usually on Tuesdays or Thursdays, or Tuesdays and Thursdays if we've got a lot to talk about. And that isn't by accident. They're two of the days which me and Matt have, worked out are the best days for us to publish content or publish blog posts. And
if you think if you think about that logically, on a Monday, you are really busy. That's probably like the worst day for you to pick up anything new or requires any form of your attention beyond 2 minutes tops. And whereas that on a Tuesday, you've got a little bit more time. You're getting back into the rhythm of things, and by Thursday, you're in your groove. Basically, you're looking forward to the weekend, but you know that you still got to work Thursday and you've got Friday as well. So it's no surprise that on Thursday this week we might be publishing the next part of the product pages, for example, because for the last 3 weeks, that's exactly what's happened. So there's a pattern which we follow for this. And if you look back on the blog for Understanding E, Tuesday and Thursdays, that's not by accident. And again, we find that's what works for us, because you as our audience are business owners. We know that you're going to be busy on a Monday. Tuesday's pretty good. Wednesday's okay. Thursday's really good. Friday, you're probably thinking about the weekend. And on the weekend, you're gone. That's the reality. So Saturday's probably write-off. Sunday, for the hardcore ones, you're around and you're working. But then again, you're probably working on your business, and it's probably not the right time for us to do a blog post. But thinking about your customers, when are they online? When do they want to start seeing content? That's a good question, because I don't actually know the answer to that, because I don't know what your customer base is like. So, for example, if they're female and they're mums, for example, then any time up to 9:30 is a write-off. But any weekday would be fair game, for example. So maybe around about 9:30 to 10 o'clock in the morning would be good. The reason being is because they've come back from the school run and have managed to sit down with a cup of coffee, a cup of tea, and then surf the internet, go onto Facebook and have a wander around. So that may be better for you. If your target audience is male, and then it may be into when they get home from work and they go on to play games online or going out, for example, then you've got this period of time in the evening. Again, you know your customers best, and it's just thinking about who your target customer is and what their lifestyle's kind of like. So,
and an absolute a tip there, Matt, is Google Analytics. If I know this is almost an obvious one, but if you don't, then you really should put Google Analytics code on your website, because all of a sudden you now have an insight into your visitors to the site. Sometimes it'll tell you, you'll break them down by gender. If Google knows that, it will tell you, but importantly, it will tell you what time they visited the site, how long they visited for, what pages they went to. Now, this should be a good indication for your site. If your site isn't that established yet, and you're trying to build up the traffic, then perhaps TerraPeak would give you a good idea of when people on eBay are looking for your products, because product ranges will differ depending on what they are. So again, Matt touched on this a little bit earlier, but the key is to pick a schedule that you can keep to, because there's nothing more sort of disheartening or maybe disconcerting to a potential customer if you have a blog on the website, they go to it and see that the last post was 6 months ago, a year ago, if not longer. It makes it look like the site is either died and that, it's not actually an active site anymore, or just that, it's lazy. It looks like the business, isn't actually running properly. And it puts that a bit of doubt into your potential customers' minds. I know that's certainly done it for me in the past, where I've gone and found a blog on a website and gone, oh, that's not been updated in over a year. Are they still around? Is this just like an old site where the hosting is to lapse? So I don't know. So, and like Matt touched on, it isn't difficult. If you were to run a blog and you could realistically stick to doing one post a month, that's just 12 posts in the year. Mm-hmm. And I've actually got a link, which I'm going to put in the chat box here, which is from a podcast that me and Matt did back in 2012, a few months after he was a pirate. We did a podcast with John Hayes on becoming the expert, and in that article, if you scroll about halfway down, there's a bonus section, and I came up with 10 first blog post titles for you, and they still stand today. You could still use them today. The titles are still valid, and they're basically 10 blog titles which you can use for your business and you can write about. And literally, you, like I said, put the title in and just write what comes to mind. If you were doing a blog post once a month, that's 10 months covered. That's pretty good going, right? That's that's covered 10 months of the year. Now, like I said, if you want to go, some may think, well, I've got a couple of members of staff who can share their insights and their expertise and their knowledge of the industry. You might want to do it twice a month or once a week. It's totally up to you. But the key here that we would recommend is keep to a schedule that is comfortable for you. Like I said, don't overstretch yourself. Be realistic. Don't say, oh, yeah, I'll do a blog post every week, and then by week 5, you're getting a bit fed up. You're finding it hard to, keep up with that schedule. And by that point, if your customers are learning to expect blog posts every week, they're going to be a little bit disappointed if you start knocking it back. So again, manage expectations.
Yeah, Dave, is it worth maybe what constitutes a blog post as well? Because I think that's really important because...
Oh, that's a fantastic point to make.
Because it doesn't have to be like, so for example, the last drop of ink, typical article which goes on there is like around 10,000 words. Okay, they're not short. They cover they're mainly there for me to exercise my mind on a specific topic. So one of the more recent ones was like the history around multi-channel software. Why does multi-channel software cost so much? And for me to flex my mind, and again, when I'm working on something like that, it helps me with other things as well. And we can't say to you that you should write a 10,000 word article because that's like getting onto a thesis, for example. That's probably not what we're suggesting for you. Definitely, unless your topic warrants that kind of level, or you need it for another reason. Again, I use it for exercise my brain for different subjects. But a blog post could be just an image. It could just be a tweet which you've made, or someone else's tweet, or your tweet with some extra comments to it. It can be very, very short. It doesn't have to be ludicrously long. What type of things can we have as a blog post, Dave?
Well, I've just put a link in the chat box, and it's from a chap called Seth Godin. Now, some people may not have heard of Seth Godin. He's a marketeer. He's fantastic. He's wrote loads of books, and he's pretty much changed the landscape of publishing. I won't go into it, but basically the link there is to his blog post, and he does a blog every single day. But his blog post from today is just 2 paragraphs. I bet it's not even 100 words. I'm sure you've seen one before where there's one line. He might have a 15-word blog post, but he does them every single day. And like I said, you've got the likes of Tumblr, where they're famous for doing picture blogs and things like that, and then sharing images from the day. Like I said, that's totally acceptable as well. just because Matt writes dissertation length blog posts doesn't mean that you have to. You can write whatever works for your business and works for your schedule. But the key is quality, unique content. And this brings us on. Go on, Matt.
I was going to say it's just got to be worthwhile reading.
That's exactly the next point I was going to make, and that's before you hit publish or before you start writing, you've got to ask yourself, is this actually worth saying? And because if it isn't, if you're just writing for the sake of it, or it's not as good as it could be, then don't do it. You only want to share things that will bring value to the readers, to the visitors to your website.
Mm-hmm. Oh, and just a little to qualify that as well, an opinion is valuable, because even if you turn out that you're wrong, that's okay, because that's another blog post, because that's a blog post on how you were wrong later on. So picking on topic, for example, so Steve, also in my YouTube video list, is me making a forecast for 10 years time for e-commerce. So those things felt right at the time, but in 10 years time, I can go back and look at that video and then say that I was completely wrong, because I probably was. Again, I'm not saying that you should do something for 10 years forecast, but it's okay to be wrong. That's the thing to remember. It's okay to be wrong, because that's another blog post to say that you were wrong. And then go off, obviously, and explain the reasons why. So anyway, Dave, carry on.
Yeah, but like I said, I know we mentioned the schedule and you want to stick to the schedule, but I think definitely from my point of view, and I'm guessing from Matt's too, that it would be better to miss a schedule than to publish something which isn't good enough in your mind. Would you agree, Matt?
Yeah, absolutely. That's why the last drop of ink site's been so quiet of late. Mainly because of the sheer amount of content which we've been creating for Understanding E, and I need to go back and talk about that. But yeah. I've got a whole raft. I've got so many unpublished blog posts on the Understanding E site, and each one of them is worth publishing and worth finishing off. But right now, if it's not going to provide decent amount of value, then I'm not going to hit the publish button on it. And yeah, if it's not worth saying, then just don't say it. Sometimes you've got to be harsh with it. So anyway.
Yeah, there we go. So that is pretty much the blog covered. The blog is the hub, and that is where the majority of businesses will do a lot of their content creation. And that brings us back to the bike wheel and the spokes. So the blog is the centerpiece, the hub, and the spokes are what is linking your blog to the other marketing channels. So this could be your email marketing, it's Facebook, it's Twitter, it's LinkedIn, YouTube, Instagram. It could be magazines, it could be newspapers. Literally, it could be anything. So the spokes are what ties your content or pushes it out there into the world on your channels.
Yeah, if I use Understanding E as an example, excuse me, is that you go onto the blog and have a look. There are so many now blog posts which we have not emailed you directly about, but are worth mentioning. So while we're busy on one specific topic right now, which is the Magento design course, is that we're still sneaking out content in the background, so that when we do get a dry patch, and we will get a dry patch, is that, oh, what should we do this week, Dave? Oh, I don't know. Let me have a look at the blog. Whoosh! Which one would you like? It's kind of like straightforward as that. Well, what could we post? Is that we got the duplicates on Amazon. We've got the Facebook comments, for example. What else have we got on here? We have the CDN, the 6 myth smash, for example. So from our point of view, is that maybe, well, I know for a fact that within a month or so that you're going to get an email. I don't know when, but it will be an email marketing piece which will go out from us, which will be about the 6 myths smashed about M2E Pro, because it's a document worth reading. It's a blog post worth reading because they've never published anything like this before. And I was allowed by the M2E Pro team to tell the true story behind why those 6 myths needed to be smashed, and that's why we've got them. And again, we'll reuse that later on. And it's the same for you. Let's put this back in your shoes. Is that if you've spotted a specific fashion trend, for example, or there's a new product coming to market, then maybe you've done 1 or 2 blog posts about products, then you finally got the product into stock, and that's when you can back it up with an email into your subscribers, so that you can say, we covered this back then, this is then it was coming out, and now it's live, and you can reference yourself against these. And again, that's one of the nice things for us. We can interlink the blog posts. We can expand upon a previous blog post as well, and you can run a common theme, for example. So in our case, the common theme is Magento and e-commerce, but we can interlink these things very, very easily. And then, of course, when you're writing something as well, you'll go, oh, I wrote an article on a similar topic, and then you'll start referencing these other ones as well. What was it? In the blog post for the design course going live as well, I mentioned about 2nd and 3rd generation software. So I referenced back to part 1 and part 2. And then suddenly it gives those old articles an extra lease of life. And again, they're worth reading. They're on topic with the post which we were writing there and then. It just interlinks something together. It's just another spoke in the wheel.
And again, let's not just assume that you write a blog post once and then that's it, it's had its time and you forget about it. Because again, I'll put it out there that you will probably hear from us next week with an email regarding some of the podcasts that we did with business owners just like yourselves. And Matt's laughing, and I know why he's laughing.
Yeah, you know why I'm laughing, but we're not publishing that one. Yeah. But on a serious note, is that Dave is absolutely right. You're going to hear from us about some interviews which we did. Repeat, you're on here right now, and we've got that podcast, which is absolutely brilliant. And again, it's so real life. That interview with Repeat is timeless on there because he's just like you. And the one which I've gone.
I was just going to say that the reality is that Gurpreet was one of the first podcasts that we did back in probably January or February. You know, we're now in July. We've had a lot of new members to the site who've joined since that was published the first time around and may not have come across it. So that still has an immense value to people who haven't seen it before. We might be now on new channels like we weren't before. We might be on Pinterest, or if we weren't on, we might have a LinkedIn group, which we didn't have before, with new members which haven't been following us that long. They will find value from this. Well, that's great to see, Gurpreet.
Exactly. So we need a follow-up interview.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
As well for it. So yeah, the thing is that just because it feels old to you, or it may feel old to us. So I'm thinking like the interview with Repeat, Nigel Matthews for Cross Border Trade, Jono, who quit the BBC, Dave Skiro, things you may have not have heard these podcasts, and they're really, really good. And I find myself on my phone, I've got them downloaded on my phone, and when I'm on the bus to, say, Granny's house, for example, on the weekend, I'll pop one of these up because I enjoy listening to that style of podcast. I find them really, really interesting because it's not about me. It's not about Dave. It's about the other person in the room. It's the business owner, just like you as well. And again, just an open invitation. If any of you would like to join us, again, if you want to hear how we do the podcast, join us. Shoot us an email. That will let us know right now. We'll sort out for conversation on Skype. And because it's about you, we want to create stuff which we want to listen to, which we know that you want to listen to. And one of the nice things about that is it can be about you, or it could be someone like you. That's the crucial thing. So I like, I'm going to pick on Gurpreet. I like Gurpreet and his story there because he opened my eyes into the 3rd generation of what is possible with Magento and M2E Pro. And I still remember seeing his order screen in Magento, and I saw the color coding, and I saw the 3rd generation actually being real and live in there. And again, I I'd seen the third generation, this M2E Pro Magento thing from a different side when I first got set up. I saw it from a developer's point of view, and I saw that you could automate your orders. You could automate third-party suppliers and stock feeds and order feeds out to the suppliers and back again and back onto the marketplaces. And I thought that was brilliant. That was like some of the stuff which we struggled with eSeller Pro. And it is this third person. It's the third person who's just like you, the fellow entrepreneur, the person who's putting the time and the effort in there. Again, just like me and Dave, we don't pretend we know everything. We put our hands out half the time and go, I don't know. In fact, Dave, this afternoon, I go, damn, I've got to do these brand things. And I've looked at the manual twice and I need to work out what's going on. And that's why now we've got a 19A and a 19B in our courses because one just didn't cut it enough.
It's like me, 90% of the time in the forums, whenever anyone mentions Magni, I go, I don't know. I just don't know. I'll go find out, but I don't know.
Yeah, we get them sent across. And that's okay not to know, because if you don't know something, then you're on the edge of knowing something new. And going back to the spokes and the wheel, is that you're learning as you write content and you're sharing with other people as well. And it's okay to be wrong. In fact, I dare you all to make some screw-ups, because if you're making screw-ups, if you're failing at something, it means you really, really are trying hard. And if you're trying, that means you've got a chance of winning, because this whole thing of success, it doesn't happen by accident. Nobody just turns up and suddenly becomes a millionaire. That's things for lottery winners. The thing is, for the lotteries, that you got this big ticket thing at the end, but it's 1 in a squillion chance of it happening. It's almost to the point that you got more chance of getting running over on the pavement. It's just not going to happen. But the thing about success is that it's not your God-forbidden right to be a failure, but it is your own right to be a success. You can control what happens, and you can control that by effort. And if you put the time and the effort in to do it, the more spokes you put in the wheel, the more chances you have of success. And again, somebody may find us from one of the very old articles which we've written. Somebody may find you in your business from one of the obscure products which you have on eBay, for example, and then may go off and find some other items. So again, just picking on personal experience. I needed some gaskets for one of the lawnmowers, a company up in Cheltenham. So when I was looking for another set of gaskets, and I'd actually given up with that card, and then I just bought a whole new card because the needle which I needed was 19 quid. Sorry, 21 pounds, so I could buy the whole brand second-hand carburetor. A whole brand new carburetor for 20 pounds, including delivery. I just went back to the company in Cheltenham because I'd already bought from them before, and they came through. And I thought, well, they're only in Cheltenham. That's only like half an hour's drive away. Last order turned up really quickly, and you're damn right they were my first preference. And there was 2 sellers which had the same item. I'd already bought from them before just for some gaskets. They'd gone from like a £3 sale to a £20 sale. Don't know what that is in percentages, but I also know that me now as a customer, they're going to be my first point of reference when I go looking for more lawnmower spares. And trust me, I will need them because I do break these things very, very often. So anyway, back on to
So the topic of spokes is that of your channels, your marketing channels. Now, there's a lot of terminology around swarming, or as me and Matt prefer to call it, is be everywhere. And yes, be everywhere is a great concept. And, we try and do it our best. We have Twitter, we have LinkedIn, we have a Facebook group, we have email marketing, we have the blog, we have YouTube, Vimeo, and have I missed anything obvious? Pinterest, we're on Pinterest as well. So that's up around 9 or 10, just off the top of our head. Now, the thing there is that we update those channels regularly. I'll go out and say regularly. We have Tina, who looks after a lot of the Pinterest for us. She takes total care of that, and a little bit of the Twitter and other bits and pieces too. But the key thing here is don't just set your blog up, set up all of your channels, and then do nothing with them. Because people think, oh, it's great, I've got an Instagram account, I've got a Snapchat because Gary Vaynerchuk says I should have one, and then you do nothing with it. You have to know how to execute on whichever channel that you're planning on using for marketing. And trust us, they all work very differently, and you have to use a different sort of angle on each one to get the most out of it. And for example, LinkedIn. We are, Understanding E is different to a lot of you guys' business because we are effectively a B2B business. You know, we deal with businesses like you guys and the business owners like you guys. Whereas you are dealing with customers. You're dealing with the end users, the retail, sector. So LinkedIn for your business would not probably be a worthwhile avenue to explore. Whereas for us, it's certainly one of the best places for us to be, where the business owners are. And it's all about being where your audience is. Now, Twitter, Facebook are two obvious ones, because that's where there's a hell of a lot of people, and that's where the eyeballs are. And the key point with spokes is, yes, be everywhere, but don't be everywhere at the risk of doing it badly. Only do the channels that you can manage to do, or that you know how to do, or that you can dedicate time to doing properly. The best thing to do is start small. So start with a blog, start with the emails, maybe set up a Facebook page or a Twitter page and start doing those. And then once you get a feel for it, and you look at maybe you want to start looking at Pinterest. If you sell on fashion, Pinterest is massive. And Instagram, if you're doing a lot of, I know cars work well. If you're doing a lot of car parts, if you have cars that you can get pictures of, Instagram's great. Or, if you're doing travel pictures or anything like that, then like I say, it's all about knowing where your audience is going to be. And I guess, Matt, that brings us on nicely to the social media.
Mm-hmm. Just before we get into the social media piece, is that we mentioned Seth Godin a few moments ago, and if you look at any of his articles which he's got posted, you'll see that I'm looking at two right now: 1,500 tweets, 112 Google shares, 471 LinkedIn shares, and 1.1 thousand Facebook likes. The irony is, this guy doesn't do Twitter, and the reason why this guy doesn't do Twitter, and he openly put it on record, which is that he doesn't put it on there because he can't. If he's going to do Twitter, he would want to do it properly. And in his mind, it's better to do something properly than just do a half job on it. So he doesn't tweet on Twitter. He's got his own account on there, but he just doesn't use it. And the reason why he doesn't use it is because he can't give it the attention which it deserves. So,
and yet, ironically, Matt, on that post, how many tweets did it have? How many retweets did it have? 14,000?
1,500, 1,579.
Oh, that was on Twitter. Sorry, it must be something else. So yeah, he's getting just under 2,000 tweets, and he's not even putting it on the channel. Other people are doing it for him. I guess that just shows the power of an audience, or a tribe, as Seth would say.
Mm-hmm.
So, social media. Oh God. It's a real tough one for me, social media, because it sort of come out of nowhere over the past few years, and the very nature of it is simple, and that is it's social. And from your point of view of running a business, and from our point of view running a business, as I mentioned just previously, we need to go where the eyeballs are, and it's a really fun pastime. If ever you're out walking around in town, like if I'm in Manchester or Matt's in Bristol, you sit in a coffee shop. We did this, Matt, down in Islington when we went down to London, and we were sat in Starbucks, and we just sat and looked around, and I think it was 10 out of 11 people were looking at a device. It was either a phone, a tablet, or a laptop. I think there was one guy in the corner reading a paper.
Mm-hmm.
But 95% of the people in that coffee shop, I know it's a small sample, but 95% were on a device. And that's where social media comes in, because I guarantee at least half of them will have been on some form of social media. So, you know, your Twitter, your Facebook, and that is where the audience is, and that's where we have to go. It's obvious. You know, do people still read newspapers? One guy was in the coffee shop, but, you know, I've got a Sky News app on my phone which updates with breaking news. I'm sure there's a Fox News app over in America. You know, I don't go out my way to buy newspapers anymore. So anyone who's paying for adverts in newspapers, I'm not going to see them.
Mm-hmm. That's why we've got the Facebook comments for the website. And as much as I dislike putting social widgets onto websites, they're actually really invaluable if when they're doing the right way. So that's coming up in one of the tutorials which we've got in the next section.
Mm-hmm.
Which means that a customer can leave a comment on that product. And the reason why we've included that was because that when they do leave a comment on that product page, is that it's automatically shared upon their Facebook timeline. And that's key, because they leave a comment on your product and it then goes into their social network, and they're likely, I don't know what the average number of friends somebody has, but it's got the potential to be seen by a large audience. And this is the thing, is you only need a small number of those each week, literally just a handful of Facebook comments, for example, to actually get in front of a very large audience. And you could say that Twitter's got X million in users, blah, blah, blah. But the thing is that what you really want is the targeted users, the ones who are interested in that. And the likelihood is that if someone's left a comment about a specific item on your website, so thinking back to the marathon item, the marathon runners a few moments ago, and that heartbeat monitor which she had on her arm, is that chances are that her friends are also runners as well, or it's much, much more likely than some random message which you've posted down to Facebook, for example. So that's the reason why we've got put these things in there. And again, as much as I don't like it because it potentially slows down your website, on the flip side, it's got more advantage because it's got the chance, you've got a much higher chance of getting in front of a larger audience. Now, yeah.
So I've got a quick question here. Does anyone know where the image has come from on the screen right now? So you can see it's an Oreo biscuit. If you know where it came from, do you want to stick it in the chat box?
I do.
Because I love the story behind this, and to me, this was a business doing social media really well. Okay, Matt knows. Go on, Matt. Where's the Oreo picture from?
Something broke and the lights went out.
That's it. It was Super Bowl 2013, and they famously had a power cut, and all the lights went out. I think it was for the halftime show, or whatever it was. And within minutes, Oreo had this picture on Twitter. Now, Twitter was going mental because, you know, as you can imagine, the lights go out, people were thinking, was it a targeted attack? Was there terrorists involved? And social media was going crazy. And Oreo put that up, saying you can still dunk in the dark. And that was actually just the only text in it, and then that image. And to me, that was perfect because that was current. It's not over salesy, but how clever is that? Apparently Oreo had a team of on social media and design guys ready for any events which happened to publish relevant content. And to me, I just thought that was fantastic, and that's why that's there. That is a business that did social media well, and like I said, it got a lot of people talking about that too.
Yeah, 15,000 retweets. 16, you can call it straight 16,000 retweets. Insane. So, Steve, to answer your question very quickly, when is the fish pig tutorial out? We've got to finish the product page, and we've got to get into categories next. So realistically, 2 weeks or so in inverted commas to do it, because we've got to focus upon our stripes. And we've got so much that we would like to create Again, I'm just sitting around looking at my whiteboard. There's so much which I would like to create, but we've got to stick to our 3 at the moment. So it will be 2 weeks or so. Yeah, it definitely does work for it. We know it works. I'm sure it'll be something straightforward, but we'll get you to relate as soon as we can.
We've also got a question there from Richard. Could you outsource your social media efforts? I guess the answer there is absolutely. But it is worth bearing in mind that, your social media accounts are a direct reflection of your business. And I would personally want to make sure that whoever I trusted to manage my social media either had some really strict guidelines as to what they did and didn't publish, or what they could and couldn't publish. You'd have to manage it quite tightly. But yeah, absolutely. So. Yeah, exactly. We do it ourselves. We totally outsourced one channel. We have some scheduling going on another. But like I said, we do that so that when me and Matt get really bogged down with whatever we're doing, like today we got 10 videos recorded, that means that updates are still going out on the social networks. If we have something relevant that we have to share, then me and Matt can both take over that account at any point of the day and tweet real-time things that are going on to us. But to stop us from neglecting it, we do have someone outsourcing it who, like I said, updates some tweets and a few other bits and pieces. So far it's worked really well. So yeah, you can outsource it. Just be careful and beware that it is how your business looks to the outside world.
Yeah, and remember, Richard, it's just a straightforward process. So coming from my background, I used to work for Xerox, and they're a process-orientated company. It was process everything. And so get the process right and do it yourself so you know what's involved in it. So if someone says, oh, it's taking me hours to do this, then you'll know if they're telling the truth or they're telling you porky pies. So it's just straight down to process. And if it's not working out, then it's not anybody's fault. It's the process's fault. So you go and change the process. And then if it still doesn't work out, then you go and change the process again. And you just keep going back at it until you get it right. And just remember, it's a process. It's just a set of steps or criteria which need to be gone through to get the output. So give it a whirl. Categorically, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
But make sure you know what's going on in the background before you go and do that. Okay. So.
A quick one for Dale. When are the previous happy hour shows going to be published? I believe we got a couple back from the editor, Matt. I did mention to someone in the forums I would do my best to get them out on Thursday in a blog post and put the links in a blog post. Is that doable?
Dave. Yeah, I've got to edit those, Dave.
Let me have the editor edited them.
Yeah, but I need to go back through and remove a few bits. So technically in my queue, I have the 3rd, the 10th, the 17th, and the 24th to do. And all bar one of them. So last week's hasn't been edited, and we'll let Adrian off from that because we've given him so much editing to do in the last week or so. But I do have the 3rd, the 10th, and the 17th. The one caveat to that is that it won't be available for the responsive listing template builder. That won't be out, and there's a very good reason for that won't be out, because version 2 is already in development. And I mean already in development. I've got a prototype, which Dave, you saw this morning.
Yeah,
that looks really cool. Very, very cool. And the reason for that is that version 1 works brilliantly. Version 2 is just insanity. And I'm really excited about it. So I'm holding off on that one because I don't want it to go out into the outer wilderness just yet. So, yeah, 3rd, 10th, and 17th, whichever one of those is not about the responsive listing template builder, we'll get those out for Thursday. Okay.
They'll be ready for a Thursday. Might not be this Thursday.
For it. Richard,
never mind.
Yeah. Good question. Will the previous shows be premium? We weren't intending to make them premium. That wasn't our goal. we could do, but to be honest, we think they add more value by themselves. So
I guess that actually brings us on nicely to this final slide of give. And that's a nice segue there. Love it when that happens. And this is getting back on the topic of social media purely here. You know, we're now in 2014. Twitter was born in 2006. Facebook a little bit before that. So it's around 8 or 10 years that people have had social media around them and have been able to learn and figure out what works and what doesn't. And yet businesses still don't get it. I get followed by quite a few businesses, quite a lot of businesses, or business accounts, not business owners, but business accounts. And sometimes I look at them and I just sort of cringe and think, well, I wouldn't follow you back because I've seen what your last 5 tweets are and I don't want them in my timeline. And people forget that a social network is not an advert. And as Gary Vaynerchuk once said, it's like some businesses don't realize what year they're now marketing in. They're marketing in 10 years ago. And like I said, great, you put an advert in a newspaper, it's blatantly an advert. You put in there that you've got a sale on and that you've got 20% off if you use this coupon. That, you know, your sale ends on Wednesday. And Christ, if your DFS put an advert out every day about the sale that's ending tomorrow, which never ends. But the thing is, sorry, I hate DFS and Social World or whatever they're called. Do my nothing. It's not sale if it's on all the time. But anyway,
it's not a sale if you're making the furniture bespoke to each order.
Exactly, yeah.
What's going on?
Crazy. Yeah. Anyway, rant over. So social networks are social. It's a global conversation. And the way that I like to think of it is Twitter is a great example. You can jump into any conversation on Twitter. You can do a search and you'll find someone talking about that word. And you can join in. You can have it, reply to them, retweet it, favorite it, whatever. And it's basically like a massive coffee shop or a massive bar where everyone just sort of wanders in and has a chat and they talk about things that they're interested in. And how annoying would it be? You put yourself in that situation. You're having a conversation with 3 or 4 different people about eBay and the eBay updates, for example. You're just talking about how they affect your business. And a guy walks in and just stands next to the table and goes, buy these shoes, 20% discount if you buy now. Click this link, read what I put over here. You would get really annoyed with him. And you would walk away or get him to walk away very quickly because that's just not how it works. It's like the guy trying to sell you dodgy DVDs in the pub. It's like that's not what you're there for. You're there to interact and communicate and build relationships. It's not a sales room. And that's what businesses don't get when it comes to social media. And what have you sent me in the back?
You can find anything on Twitter. So I've just done a random search for Marrows, and it's the specific following. Sorry, that's me playing around in the background and on Twitter. If you were in horticulture, for example, and Marrows with Marrow season, for example, then there are X squillion number of tweets with that keyword on there, and you can join in the conversation with any of those. So Deborah Lee, for example, you can just say that her marrow plants look nice.
Is that euphemism? Nice marrows.
Nice marrows. Anyway. Really bad example. I'll shut up now. Sorry, Dave, you were saying.
I guarantee, right, if you scroll down that list of marrows, there'll be a guy there saying, buy my marrows, 20% off if you buy my marrows today. And it's just not the arena for that behavior. And instead it's the relationship. And that's what you want as a business. You want those returning customers because it's so much easier to sell to your returning customers than it is to go and find new customers. Largely, 99% of the time. Depends what business you're in. Cars, not so much. But, you get the gist. It's much easier to, like Matt said before with his lawnmower carburetor, that company now has a returning customer in Matt because he had a good experience the first time round. And it's just exactly the same with social, but you have to do it in a slightly different way. And this is where the give nature comes from. It's like asking for a favor. If you were to ask a friend for a favor, chances are you'd feel better about asking for a favor if you'd done them a favor first. And it's all about that leverage, is that if you do something nice for someone first, then you don't feel bad about asking them for a favor back later on. And that's all about how that relationship gets built. And that is the key point of Gary Vaynerchuk's book, Jab, 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 Right Hook. And I've got that here on my desk right now. And if anyone, like I say, if anyone is seriously looking at boosting their social media strategy or blitzing your competition on social media, then read Jab, 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 Right Hook. Because, like I said, if you, it's all about give, and then ask. That is how you should interpret that. And although I think Gary Vaynerchuk even said in his own words, it really should be give, and then ask. But you get the idea.
Yeah, his book publisher wouldn't allow him to have a jab. So,
but that's
through
the
the book
key.
title. So,
social is all about building that relationship, and it's giving away the content, giving away your advice, running competitions to your followers. You know, that is a nice thing that you can do where you build that interaction. You know, I know there's a few businesses in Manchester which do this really well, and they'll run like weekly competitions where it's like, send us a picture with your pet doing something funny, or send us a picture of where you are right now and what you're looking at, and we'll pick the most interesting one and you'll win a free t-shirt or a free something or other. And that is such a viral thing to do that it's so easy for someone to just take a picture of where they are right now and share it. And that's an interaction. You've not asked them to buy anything from you. You've not asked them you've not been doing the hard sell. You're just building a relationship. You're sharing your funny pictures. You might have a display that fell down overnight, and you might, came into this morning and the mannequins had a rough night out, or anything that is just sharing your story. And that's what social network is. And like I said, the businesses that do it well, they're the ones who win when it comes to social. And like Richard said before, as I said, you're talking about, are the previous happy hours going to be premium? No, they're not, because this is us giving and giving and giving and giving. This is, you see it all the time, and we try and practice what we're preaching here, or practice what Gary Vaynerchuk's preaching and Seth Godin is preaching. When it comes to building that relationship, we want, before you do what we say or what we advise you to do, you need to know that me and Matt know what we're talking about. And the only way for us to prove that to you is to show you first and give away content, give away, whatever we can to reinforce that, yeah, we know what we're talking about. And our overall goal, yes, is to run a successful business, but our main goal that will help us run a successful business is to help you run a successful business and to make you a success. And that is ultimately how we can measure ourselves. And if you can take that sort of ethos in your business of give, and then ask, or, when it comes to social, that's how you win.
We do indeed. I think that's probably a good time to wrap up there, Dave.
I think it is. So, any other business? It's looking a bit better.
It's looking a bit better. Third section of the design course, product page. I think we gave a rundown of what might be in this one. Just to bring you up to speed, give you a heads up, it's still looking like Thursday. If we can get the tutorials out earlier, we will do. But just be aware that we might run behind a bit. The reason being is that we've still got 4 to record. They're to do with the brand logos, part A, so the simple way, how to set them up, and then B, the advanced method. Because don't you've seen it in the Ultimo theme, is that you can have this brand logo on your product page, and getting them to put in is actually really straightforward. But you can also do some really cool stuff with them as well. That's why it's broken into 2. We've got related and upsell products to do, and the bonus code to go for that. Those still need to be recorded, and we still have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 sat in to be edited at the moment as well. So Thursday or Friday, we should have those out, and we'll give you a heads up. We'll put a blog post out about it, funny enough, and most likely an email as well to go out for that.
I will add a note there, Matt, that I think I am a bit behind on the actual articles, but I would rather get the videos out than not. So, depending, like I said, we've still got some recording to do tomorrow. Tomorrow's Wednesday. Get them live by Thursday. There may be a few guides which don't have the articles with them when we first release them. I will try and catch up as quickly as possible and get the articles backfilled. But I'd rather release them than not and wait on a couple of paragraphs from me summarising what's in the video.
Yeah, indeed. So Thursday or Friday for those, we're looking forward to them, because this is like the really cool stuff. This is where we go and put the bullet points on the product page. It's copy and paste code. Really straightforward. In fact, Dave, that's the one tutorial which like made me cringe, because it was like, oh, let me bring Notepad++ across. And here's the code.
My heart sank a little bit. It was like, oh, no. I want to avoid this.
I wanted to avoid this.
But it's copy and paste. It's not type in your own PHP code. I think we did our best there.
Yeah, I can't give you the file. The reason why I can't give you the file is because you might be on different versions. And again, we're thinking into the future as well. It would be wrong for me to give you the exact file, because that file may change. So it was better for me to give you the codes, which you can copy and paste from, and I can show you the line where to paste that in. So that's got that. The product page colors are...
Oh, the colors is a great guide. I love that guide. That's probably my favorite one, where we start playing with colors on the website. That's when you know that you're actually doing something cool and designing your own website, when you start changing things.
If you wanted to know the actual product page, which we're actually designing right now, there's a link there on the chat on the left-hand side. You'll notice that we haven't touched the header, we haven't touched the footer, but what we have done is that we've configured the image gallery, we've been through the static blocks, we've customized the blocks on the right-hand side. We're missing the brand logo because we need to get that one done. We've got better social sharing icons in there. We've got Facebook comments. We've named the tabs. Yep, we've got a review on there as well. Dave likes pink, apparently. We got item specifics on there as well. We've even renamed the tabs, and you found out about the translate.csv file from Magento as well. Facebook comments we've got on there as well. And again, like I said, we've got the brand logos related and upsell items to be done. And then that's that section done. And the irony is that in this section is that if you complete that section, you've just done the vast majority of your Magento website build. The reason being is that if you've got, say, 1,000 products, you've essentially just been installed 1,000 pages on your Magento website. And that's like one of the biggest wins for you. Everything after this, which is into the categories, the category menu, the header, the footer, and the content pages, is all small fry in comparison for the impact which it's going to have. Stephen, looking at your comment there, I'm building categories that are a brand page at the moment while listening for Ultimo. Is that what you guys are going to suggest, or should I stop and wait? What I would suggest, Stephen, is that if you open up the Ultimo guide, the PDF document which comes with it, there's a section on brands. And number one, you can put your brand logos in. And number two is that you can actually control where those pages end up. So when someone clicks on that brand logo, you can either go to the really poor Magento search, which is the standard search. You can either use the advanced search, or you could use category pages. So maybe you want a category menu called search by brand, for example, or by brand, and then have all your brands listed there, is that you can then link to those categories. And of course, each one of those categories can also have their own content at the top. Okay, so rather than building a specific brand page at the moment, what I would probably suggest is that maybe it might be an idea for you to have a categorization on your Magento website for the different brands. and then for each brand, adding in a little bit of content, maybe a separate logo at the top of that category, and then you've got brand-specific pages. And of course, if you've then got layered navigation, for example, on the left-hand side of your site, that those will then link across as well. So yeah, but that's just the idea for this is for us to give you the framework, and you pick what you like. If you don't want that way, then you do it a different way. And if you want a specific brand page, in fact, Stephen, if you've spent the time building a brand page, go and do it. Go and build a brand page if you're already halfway there. Or alternatively, you can look at doing you just using categories straight off for it. So the idea is for us to give you the options. That's why it's in two parts. Part one is just get it set up. Part two is to go and look deeper, deeper in there. So yeah, brand pages with Magni, happy days, nice and straightforward. Can you do something similar for products that have won awards? So, Maria, can you do something similar for products that have won awards? Now, would that be an award for just one product, or would it be for a group of products with the same award? Because the reason for the open question is that categorically, just one product. Okay. Yeah, what I would suggest in that case is it's just one product. Right, okay.
Would you just do something on the image?
There's a couple of ways you can do this. The simplest way is to use the short description for your Magento website. That's, again, there's no editing. It's already built into Magento. You can use it out of the box, and then use the short description field, which will appear underneath your bullet points. So using that rucksack as an example, which we put the link up a few moments ago, you could put your own HTML in your short description about that award. Okay, that's the simplest option. You could also have an attribute, for example. So maybe a drop-down attribute, which you can then use for layered navigation. And that could be awards on the left-hand side when someone's navigating your website. What else could you do? If you wanted to go one stage further than that, then you could look at maybe having something written or added on to your Magento website, so that maybe in our case, like the delivery and returns tab has got static content in it, is that could be coming from a product attribute, for example, in Magento. It's that, yeah, there's a couple of different ways which you could do it. In fact, Maria, probably the best question is, can you draw what you would like or how you envisage it works, and then draw it on a piece of paper, okay, crayon if you need to, it really doesn't matter, just so we got an idea of how you envisage it working. Take a picture with your phone and pop it in the forums. That's probably the best way of doing it, and then I can give you some options. And Dave, that would be brilliant. Draw what you want, and then I can give you some suggestions. And again, it doesn't have to be a masterpiece. It could be on your whiteboard, back of a beer mat, letter, anything like that. Just a rough picture on your phone, as long as it's roughly in focus. Upload it in the forums, and we'll have a look. That's probably the best way of doing it.
But in my mind, when you said it's won an award, immediately what I want to do is, like the sale or the new logo button things that appear on the image mat, I'd want to put that like a star. And I just know that's a real nightmare to do.
No, it's really easy to do. No, I like that idea, actually, because all you would be doing is one tiny little CSS edit. So on... You've used the CSS word now. I meant really for me, not for you. Nothing's a trouble for you. We're talking like $10. If you're
doing like a yellow star with like award winner or something like that in it, that'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, you could maybe adapt a new flag within Ultimo, for example, and do that, and then change the CSS to do it. And again, if you were to outsource, that'd be like $10 because you just choose the image on the background.
I thought worse than that.
Yeah, it can't be that hard to do. It really can't be. So, sorry, Mia. Just draw what you're trying to do. Pop it in the forums. We'll have a look. As far as any other business which goes on, yeah, we kind of hinted that we've been pretty flat out today. That was 10 videos, which we did earlier. Again, that was us building spokes within our own wheel as well. Because
that was, trying to utilize a channel which we aren't really utilizing to the best of its ability. That's purely just down to time more than anything else. So again, we put process in place using the what's the word I'm looking for? The resources that we have available to us in order to try and make it better. And that's what a large part of that was today.
Indeed.
Hopefully it'll work.
Okay. On the topic of any other business, responsive listing template builder version 2 is underway. It's crazy. I really like what I've already got back. It still needs lots of coding to go in. It's sick. I know that you're going to go nuts when you see it because I think it's well cool. On a scale of 1 to 10, it's 11. It's sick. That's probably the best way of explaining it. It needs work, 2 weeks minimum. Again, I've outsourced part of this. I've outsourced half of the project to a third-party developer, ironically, who is a woman. Sorry, that's almost unheard of in the developing for developers, and I chose her on purpose because of her feedback, actually, ironically, on Elance. And anyway, she's doing a brilliant job. She's only got half of the puzzle, which is on purpose, but the half which she's doing is really, really good. And I've already got a prototype back. Looks like, in fact, I gave her a prototype in the first place, and then make it work like this. So she's putting the code in, putting all my requirements in there. I've still got quite a lot of work to give her, so she got a fighting chance of completing it properly. But yeah, version 2 going to be amazing. Minimum 2 weeks. And again, that's minimum 2 weeks with me knowing what the output is, from knowing what I got code side. My side on there. And Dave, you saw the prototype this morning. It looked really boring. It just said some text here and some text here. Yeah, that looks really, really boring. But actually, that's the prototype, because if I can put text there and text there, it works. So anyway, before we go, by the way, Del, I'd love for you to beta test it. That would be amazing. I will make more of a fuss on when version 2 is ready, because version 2 is sick with sickness. I know that you're going to love it because it puts you back in control. But before we go, does anybody have any questions before we go? And Maria, like I said, draw what you'd like, what you're trying to do, and let us know in the forums. But if any of you have any questions, now's your chance before we leg it, and we'll do our best to help. And if not, we'll call it a night or an afternoon and wrap up here.
Indeed, absolutely melting, Ian.
Cool beans. So, right, we'll leave it there in that case. I'm not going to the pub with Dave. Shoes and barrows.
It's a nightmare, Howard. It is truly embarrassing everywhere I go. It's a chap walks in with stilettos and marrows and then sits there offering me 20% discount if I buy now. I get really annoyed.
Indeed.
God knows what my Twitter feed is going to look like now. I've openly said this is what I hate. Oh dear. Opened up the abuse right there.
Indeed. So on that note, thank you for joining us this evening. Really do appreciate it. And we genuinely hope that this evening's been able to help you. Just to recap very, very quickly, content marketing, really straightforward, but it's a marathon. It's not a sprint. If you can take one thing away from this evening, it's a marathon, not a sprint. It's about the long-term goals for what you're up to. So on that note, thank you, Dave. Great job. Thank you, everybody. Cheerio.
Thank you very much. And we'll see you all soon. Bye now.
Bye.